Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time, 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Happy Sunday, everybody. So I see poll after poll showing that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman from the 14th District of Manhattan, representing Queens, the Bronx, where she says she grew up, except she grew up in another town that was not the Bronx, and grew up in a quite nice place. Sandy Cortez was her name before she became Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or AOC, the head of the squad, and quite possibly the 2028 Democratic nominee for president. Now, you want to talk about the way politics work in 2026 or 2024, or when she was elected in 2018. Social media has created complete and utter idiots that if they get enough likes and enough retweets on TikTok, on the Twitter that became X, Facebook, name your social media post, then suddenly you become an expert on basically everything, to the point where people think that you could be president of the United States like AOC, who's barely 35 years old. Remember, you have to be 35 in order to be the head of the executive branch and reside in the Oval Office. So AOC, because, wow, she gets a lot of likes and retweets on TikTok, suddenly is seen as a serious contender. If you go down every poll, it's basically now at this point, in terms of people that have a real chance at this nomination, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. What are her qualifications? Well, she was a bartender until she decided to run for Congress, and then won a congressional district that very few people thought she had a chance of winning, but God bless her. A lot of social media posts, good-looking girl, a lot of passion, got enough young voters out to vote for her, despite the fact that she is a democratic socialist, which more and more young people embrace. As a matter of fact, YouGov poll out recently shows that 62% of those under the age of 30, all right, they could vote. They would prefer to see a democratic socialist or a socialist, because there's not a lot of Republican socialists, so we'll call it democratic socialist, as the next president of the United States. Nearly 2 in 3 prefer socialism, therefore will prefer a candidate like AOC, like Memdani. Memdani can't run, wasn't born here. Trust me, that'll change eventually. And now here's the problem with this. Can you name one piece of legislation that has passed that AOC has sponsored or co-sponsored? In all of her years in Congress, we're now coming up on, let's see, 8. The answer is the same answer you get when you multiply any number by 0. In other words, 0. None. She has not done one thing for her constituents in the Bronx and in Queens. The only thing she has done is kept Amazon from opening up a major East Coast hub that would have paid people $150,000 on average in terms of salary and created tens of thousands of jobs in her district. And she shot it down because she saw it as an exercise in corporate greed. That is her legacy to this point. Now she goes over to Munich, where they're having some sort of conference talking about something where apparently if you're important, you go over there to talk about stuff if you want to be the next president of the United States. So Gavin Newsom, of course, not filling reservoirs with water, fire hydrants with water, lowering taxes in the highest tax state in the country, not doing anything about the homeless problem in the highest homeless rate in the country, not doing anything about poverty and the highest poverty rate in the country. No, he's over in Munich like he was in Davos in Switzerland just last month, there to berate the current president of the United States without, again, offering any worldview of his own in terms of, if I'm Gavin Newsom, this is how I would handle things as far as if I were president of the United States. What would you do about Iran, Gavin? Would you have ordered Operation Midnight Hammer to take out their facilities? No, of course not. Nuclear facilities? Nope. How would you have negotiated a peace in Gaza during that horrific war that Hamas started between Israel and Hamas? You don't know. What would you do about China in terms of stealing intellectual property and the whole trade war we have with them? The guy has no clue. He knows about hair gel, veneers, and bashing Trump. That's basically his sweet spot or spots at this point. Anyway, getting back to AOC, this could be your next commander in chief. And you tell me, I'll be happy to play this twice. My show. I'll do it twice, actually, because I think it's that important. This person has zero clue how to handle anything outside of a social media account. That's not sexist. She can be a guy. I'd say the same thing about Don Lemon or Eric Swalwell or Senator Chris Murphy. Has nothing to do with gender, has nothing to do with her ethnicity, has nothing to do with anything. But listen to this answer. As far as foreign policy, it makes zero sense because she doesn't have a friggin' clue, yet she could be the 47th president of the United States. This is cut number one. Go.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. Right. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
What? You thought Kamala's word salads were that? That's 1,000 island dressing word salad. How many uhs were in that answer? She doesn't have a friggin' clue. If China went into Taiwan, what would you do? It is the first time, literally, she has been asked that question because she goes on MS Now and CNN, where all they do is say, hey, Donald Trump's a bad guy. How bad is he? What do you think about fascism in this country? All BS questions. Finally, a real question is asked. And that's how this person answers, like a drunken sophomore trying to get to the minimum word and time count during an oral presentation. Let's play it again. It's that good. Cut number one, go.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is a, this is of course a very longstanding policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point. And we want to make sure that we are moving in all of our economic research and our global positions to avoid any such confrontation and for that question to even arise.
All right. I don't care how you vote. If you're a Democrat, how can you possibly support this person? She is not ready. She should not even be a congresswoman. All right. She should be a fundraiser for the DNC or a co-host on The View or a weekend host on MSNBC. That's it. President? That person? And I can guarantee you this is the way it's going to work out. Newsom probably gets the Democratic nomination because he lies at least a lot better in terms of pretending he knows what he's talking about. Then he will choose AOC to be his running mate because, well, that will bring in, here's a calculation. It's never about who's best for the job. Just like with Kamala, she was chosen because of her gender and because of her race and because they want votes in certain places where they think that people are dumb enough to vote for people that, you know, well, they look like me and I guess, you know, they're not like a white person. So that's fine. And, oh, we need a woman in this position, which is utterly ridiculous. I don't mind women in any powerful positions, right? I would vote for, I think Condi Rice would be one hell of a president, quite frankly. But that's just me. Wrong party, though, if you're the mainstream media. The point is that Newsom will choose AOC to be his vice presidential candidate because she's going to get a lot of press time and she's really an excellent actress when she knows what she's talking about, unlike the clips you just heard. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Newsom versus AOC. I'm sorry, Newsom AOC versus J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. And it will be a cakewalk for the Republicans if the economy under Trump continues to do as well as it is at this point, where, again, we saw another report on Friday, CPI, core inflation, down to 2.4%. This sucker was nearly 10% under Biden. Things are improving, no question about it. Now, if it's not AOC, it could very well be Jasmine Crockett, who has a nightly feature on this show where we play the Crockett clip that, again, this person wants to be a senator from Texas. And if she fails, undoubtedly will run for president because that gets her a book deal and gets her on TV a lot. And our dumb media will be dumb enough to put her on because she says such stupid stuff that I guess they think it rates because it's provocative. Who knows? Who cares? Here's Jasmine Crockett talking about how she never sleeps, ever. Cut number 7. Go.
I also want to show up when I can, but I still have a full-time job that I was elected to do. And I am still showing up every single day at work while also trying to make sure that Texans know that I am serious about earning their support. So I am team no sleep right now. But you know what? Democracy can't wait. Yeah. And if I go to sleep, democracy may very well die.
Oh, democracy may die. I am done with this as far as Democrats talking about how they're going to save democracy. You literally installed a candidate as your nominee in 2024 in Kamala Harris without one vote from any Democrat, anybody in the primaries, installed Soviet style. And you're talking about saving democracy? When you tried to lock up Donald Trump instead of just, I don't know, taking him on the ballot box, which you lost in doing probably 3 times. The point is, Will Ferrell. Yeah, we're going to go from Jasmine Crockett to Will Ferrell. And I love Will Ferrell. Trust me. I love Will Ferrell as an actor. All right. Anchorman is one of my favorite movies all time. I will quote it until the cows come home. Old school, awesome. Ricky Bobby, a little uneven, but absolutely rewatchable every time that it is on. Blades of Glory. He's basically played every sport in every movie Will Ferrell has. And he's funny. The guy makes me laugh, especially on Saturday Night Live when he played the late, great Alex Trebek. Now, here is Will Ferrell talking about how women should run the world because he is a pussycat. And that's what pussycats say in these situations when they want applause, cheap applause. When, again, I don't care if you're a woman. I don't care if you're a guy. I don't care if you're black, white, Asian. It doesn't matter. Are you the best qualified for an important position like president? If so, it doesn't matter what your color is, what your gender is. But nonetheless, here's Will Ferrell going full woke. Very disappointing. Cut number 9. Go.
Forget about the entertainment world. Isn't it just time? Isn't it just time for women to run the planet? I mean, I'm not just trying to placate you, I swear.
Yeah, you are. You are.
But I don't know what else to do because we, men, we've been running the show since, 10,000 BC? Something like that. And we're not doing so good. So, please, can you guys just take over?
I'm sure he'd love a Republican woman to take over, right? So if, I don't know, let's see, let's think. Tulsi Gabbard, right, who ran for president as a Democrat in 2020. If she were to run, would anybody have a problem with that? Will Ferrell? It's a woman. You say women should run things. Now, of course, that has to be a Democratic, liberal, socialist woman. Then that will get Will Ferrell's approval. What you don't need approval on is buying gold. Look at the numbers, people. Inflation doesn't need to spike to hurt you. Even steady inflation, like we're seeing, quietly chips away at your savings year after year. The cash in your bank account, it buys less over time. That's why so many investors turn to gold and silver to help preserve purchasing power. When it comes to precious metals, I trust Goldline. They've been in business since 1960 and are owned by a Fortune 500 publicly traded company offering transparency and reliability, plus competitive pricing and free insured delivery. For my listeners only, there is an exclusive discount on historic American gold coins. Call 1-800-757-GOLD. Mention Joe. That's 1-800-757-4653. Call now. This is a limited time offer. Goldline.com. All right. This is the Joe Concha Show. This is the Joe Concha. Wow. Sunday morning Tunnel to Towers Foundation show. Back with so much more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show.
The children of our nation know little to nothing about 9/11, but the Tunnel to Towers 9/11 Institute is righting this wrong by helping teachers educate kids in kindergarten through 12th grade. Their nonfiction first-person accounts are told through videos and the Discovering Heroes book series. The Institute offers full scripted curriculum units with background for teachers, a speakers bureau for classrooms, a mobile exhibit that's an interactive museum with 9/11 artifacts and FDNY guides. Donate $11 a month and amplify your impact by donating your car or land. Go to T2T.org.
Adobe Acrobat Studio, so brand new. Show me all the things PDFs can do. Do your work with ease and speed. PDF Spaces is all you need. Do hours of research in an instant with key insights from an AI assistant. Pick a template with a click. Now your prezzo looks super slick. Close that deal? Yeah, you won. Do that, doing that, did that, done. Now you can do that with Acrobat. Now you can do that with the all-new Acrobat.
It's time to do your best work with the all-new Adobe Acrobat Studio.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So, Michelle Obama, I don't get how you walk into the royal flush that she did as far as life is concerned, where you go from somebody who met a guy in law school and, you're a lawyer yourself, and then you decide, maybe I'm not going to practice law because maybe I want to raise my family. Great. Good for you. I'm not criticizing that in any way, shape, or form. Raising kids is a full-time job. I get it. I have two. I work 4 jobs, and I still feel like I have a 5th job in terms of raising my kids or going skiing like we did this weekend, which I'm still hurting, man. I don't know. I'm either getting old or something, but it's not like I was going on the Swiss Alps. All right. This was New Jersey, Mountain Creek, and boy, my legs hurt. The point is that Michelle Obama, good for her for raising her kids, and I'm sure they turned out great. Now, all of that said, she has since complained about being the, First Lady of the United States for 8 years and all the perks that go along with it, talking about how horrible, her life is, talking about how hard her kids are to raise, complaining about Barack, all these things when, again, she has a place in Martha's Vineyard that has its own zip code and area code, and then a place in D.C., and then a place in Hawaii. Protection for life. It flew on Air Force One privately for many, many years. right, is worth more than $100 million, yet life apparently is very difficult for Michelle Obama and Sage Steele of ESPN. Yes, woke ESPN. Well, there are other people that have come out of that network that are actually normies, and Sage is definitely one of them. And here she is on Michelle Obama, and this is absolutely perfect. Cut number 10, go.
Might as well just ask for reparations for having curly hair now. Like, shut up. It is ridiculous. And I find it, when I saw that clip, I was like, walk away, Sage, walk away. And of course I couldn't, because what are you doing? You're sitting there bitching about white people's standards to force you to make it straight. And what are you doing? Getting paid $100,000 plus per speech, straightening your damn hair. Is anyone telling you what to do?
That's Sage Steele, who, by the way, also black, like Michelle Obama. So very refreshing to hear that sort of criticism, and absolutely justly deserved. Anyway, this is Joe Concha. This is the Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. You're going to want to stick around for this. It's that good. Please do stick around. Back with more in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So I had the pleasure of meeting Linda Moynihan not too long ago, New York Post columnist, and she is excellent. And she goes on CNN on Abby Phillips' primetime show pretty much on a weekly basis at this point. It seems like it's more like 2 or 3 times a week because she is that good in terms of making common sense arguments. Now, Linda was on Friday night talking about voter ID. Now, we've talked about this 100 times in the show, but it bears repeating that according to a Fox News poll, according to a CNN poll, according to every poll out there, 85, 84, 83% of Americans support having voter ID when you cast a vote in this country. Just like when you buy, I don't know, a plane ticket and you want to get on the plane, you need an ID. When you rent a car after you get off the plane, you need to show a driver's license or an ID. When you buy alcohol in this country, you need an ID. When you want to vote, however, Democrats say, I don't know. You probably shouldn't need an ID. Now, here's the funny thing. The SAVE Act, which is basically the Voter ID Act, passed in the House this week, barely, mind you, because there's barely a Republican majority. But nonetheless, Democrats had to use an ID to get into the Capitol in order to vote against a bill that says you shouldn't need ID to vote. If there has been a bigger irony on this planet, I'd love to hear about it sometime. But anyway, here's Moynihan on Abby Phillips' show, where basically it's 4 against 1 with the moderator, if you want to call Abby a moderator. She's a younger version of Joy Reid and a female version of Jim Acosta meets Don Lemon. In other words, all not good. Moynihan making the point around voter ID. And oh, by the way, COVID vaccines. Remember those? I remember this. I had to show my COVID vaccination card in order to bring my kids into the Natural Museum of Art 2 years after COVID hit this country, because that's how it was in New York. I had to show some sort of proof that I had something done, just like, ID when you want to vote. Anyway, Moynihan, New York Post, great job. Cut 15, go.
Our government expects a lot of us. Every single year, every single person is expected to file their taxes, something that is very complicated.
You can do it online.
Have to outsource. During COVID,
but you can do it online.
People had to go and get a vaccine in person. I went twice. I had to carry my
what does that have to do with voting?
I had to carry my little card around.
No, we're way off track on this. No,
we're not. The government expects a lot of things of people for taxes.
Can I just explain to you the difference? Can I tell you the difference? Can I tell you the difference?
Why can't we expect something far less onerous?
Yes,
proving
please.
You are.
Would you correct?
The difference is you listed a lot of things. You listed a lot of things in this country that are privileges. We're not talking about privileges. Voting is a constitutional right.
Taxes are a privilege?
Yes. Voting is a constitutional right. Tell me in the enumeration of the Constitution where it says you must pay this, X, Y, Z.
Taxes are a privilege. Can I give up that privilege? Is that okay? It's like Bruce Willis in Armageddon, where, remember that movie? Actually, it came out almost 30 years ago. It's amazing. I watched it with my kid not too long ago. And Bruce Willis, who plays Harry Stamper, who is a guy who basically runs these offshore oil teams. Okay. They have to basically drill a hole into an asteroid to drop a nuclear bomb into it to blow up the asteroid to make sure it doesn't blow up Earth. And, well, Bruce Willis's character is not very, fond of this. And he says, all right, you want me to fly up there on the space shuttle, land on an asteroid, dig a hole to drop a nuke into. He negotiates for his team that he never wants to pay taxes again. And the government agrees. Like, if I were to negotiate with the government, easily, this is the first thing that I would go for. I would never pay taxes again. And this moron on CNN saying that, actually, taxes, well, it's a privilege. It's a okay. And by the way, and Linda Moynihan is exactly right. During COVID, you had to show proof that you got a COVID vaccine. So if I want to vote, then why do I have to show ID? Oh, that's right, because then it shows who you are is who you are. The fact that Democrats and these idiots in the media who will just reflexively defend everything this party tries to push, even on an 85-15 issue, is utterly and totally remarkable. Much like Hakeem Jeffries, by the way, who in 2022 was talking about how inflation is down. In 2022, let me do the math here. Actually doing some research. All right. What was inflation in 2022 on average? Oh, it was above 8%. In fact, it went above 9% at one point. And Hakeem Jeffries in 2022 was saying that inflation was down, actually. Lie. And now in 2026, when, like we talked about before, CPI index, core inflation, is now down to 2.4% under Trump in only 1 year, and it continues to go down. Well, let's do a little compare and contrast. Hakeem 4 years ago, Hakeem now, and I'm seeing a little bit of a hypocrite here. This is cut number 16. Go.
Let's work together. Following the leadership of President Joe Biden, whose record continues to move things in an incredibly positive direction for the American people.
Of course.
Wages are up. Inflation is down.
The high cost of living in the United States of America. It's a challenge that we need to tackle. They promised that costs would go down on day one, that they would address inflation. Costs haven't gone down. They're going up. Inflation is going up. And a lot of it has to do with Trump's reckless mismanagement of the economy.
Again. And this guy can go on CNN, MS Now, do an interview with the New York Times, and they won't challenge him on any of this. But all of that said, I always think of the movie Coming to America with Eddie Murphy, 1988, because when you think of Hakeem, you think of this. This is cut number 18. Go.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Exactly. Garbage rhetoric. Can we play that one more time, Elias?
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Ah, yes. All right. One more time. I'm sorry.
When you think of garbage, think of Hakeem.
Yep. Think of Hakeem and think of Zara Memdani, where even now this weekend, starting to get warm. As I said, I went skiing earlier, actually broke a little sweat. That was nice. The garbage is still piled up. The snow is still piled up. This guy ran a funeral parlor. No one would die. That's what's going on in New York City. No question about it. Anyway, speaking of Memdani, here we have a longtime New York City resident, Democrat, goes on social media. This thing has been viewed millions of times, going off on Zoran as far as third world living conditions. And we're seeing it. I mean, if you're in New York City, trust me, you know exactly what we're talking about, or you're not in New York City. Just watch any video of any street. It is amazing that this guy, within 6 weeks of taking office, can destroy a city as quickly as he has. And oh, by the way, the free bus fares, we're going to play this game, not happening yet. In fact, buses are slower. And oh, by the way, they're more expensive. When's that coming? Hey, how about free childcare? Is that coming? Oh, that's right. You don't have to pay for it. And even Kathy Hochul, the New York governor, says she's not going to raise taxes one dime to pay for any of Memdani's communist programs. But I don't even know if he makes it 4 years. I got to be honest with you. He'll play the victim and somehow resign, but that's how bad things are going. This is cut number 4. And this is all you need to know as far as the state of what was once the greatest city in the world as of now, February 15th, 2026. Cut number 4, go.
There's no way that people are actually visiting New York City or people live in New York City and they enjoy living. I have lived in New York City my entire life. I have never seen something like this, ever. I've lived here 26 years. I'm currently driving through Canal Street. It literally looks like I just entered a third world country. Streets are absolutely disgusting. There's garbage everywhere. There's like cops just swarming the streets for no reason because they're not even doing anything. It literally looks like a cesspool full of people that are like imported here and placed here to ruin the city. It's like so disgusting. And then on top of that, you guys went and voted for an absolute imbecile to run the city who is going to do nothing except make the city worse. So enjoy New York City. This is definitely not the Big Apple anymore. I don't know what this is.
26 years, always voted Democrat. And that is the state of the state in terms of normie average residents that suddenly see that, oh, maybe this guy isn't the future of the Democratic Party or of any party for that matter. Meanwhile, AOC, boy, she campaigned a lot with Zoran. And she was at this Munich conference. I played for you the clip earlier twice. Mind you, it was that bad as far as what she would do if China were to invade Taiwan. And I never heard more ums, uhs, and just utter and complete indecisiveness since the average Kamala speech in 2024. In fact, infinitely worse. Well, here's AOC at the same conference talking about how we need a wealth tax now because, yeah, that won't drive every last remaining millionaire and billionaire out of the Big Apple by imposing something like this. This is cut number 14. Go.
So when you run for president, are you going to impose a wealth tax or a billionaire's tax?
I don't think that I don't think that anyone, and that we don't have to wait for any one president to impose a wealth tax. I think that it needs to be done expeditiously.
And interestingly, when I wrote about wealth tax recently, and of course the big argument against this is always capital flight, the U.S. is actually uniquely placed to do it because you guys tax on the basis of citizenship, so people can't flee, you know? And even if you change your citizenship, there's basically an exit tax because you have to pay a tax on unrealized capital gains.
Yeah, AOC had no idea what any of that meant. The point is that she says we don't have to wait for a Democrat president, to impose a wealth tax. Does she even know how government works after being in Congress for 8 years? So I'm pretty sure Congress passes a bill, which then has to pass in the Senate with 60 votes to overcome the filibuster. And then the, executive branch, i.e. the president, signs that bill into law. And if he disagrees with it, he uses this thing called, it starts with a V and ends in ito. That's right, veto. So why we don't have to wait for a Democrat president in order to have a wealth tax? Oh, really? Because I'm pretty sure you do, because things don't become law unless the Congress, the Senate, and the president are all in agreement. There are 6th graders that know this. And here she is in Munich on a world stage, making a complete embarrassment of the United States. And again, there are at least 43 to 45% of people in this country who would reflexively vote for an AOC because she's really cool on social media and we need young blood and maybe socialism's the way to go. Oh boy, I weep for the future, to quote Ferris Bueller, or at least the movie anyway. Oh boy, guys. Well, something about the future that I do know, however, is that inflation quietly destroys savings. It doesn't have to spike to do real damage. Even steady, moderate inflation compounds year after year, and it shrinks your purchasing power. Now, the cash sitting in your bank account, it only buys less over time. That's why gold and silver have historically helped preserve value as prices rise. When it comes to precious metals, Goldline is the only company I trust. They've been in business since 1960. They're owned by a Fortune 500 publicly traded company. It adds transparency and reliability to the product. Goldline offers competitive pricing on a wide selection of gold and silver products, plus free insured delivery on every order. Their longevity and their white glove client-first approach makes them a partner I am confident in recommending. For my listeners only, Goldline is offering an exclusive discount on historic American gold coins. Call 1-800-757-GOLD and mention Joe. Don't wait. This is a limited time offer. That's 1-800-757-4653 or visit goldline.com. But I urge you to call right now. This is the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. We wrap this puppy up in just a moment.
It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. It's the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Now, here's Joe Concha.
Welcome back, everybody. So it's a Sunday morning. It's a holiday weekend, in essence. So let's have some fun with some old school clips here. But first, before we get to that, let's get to the 47th president of the United States. He sent me this video personally before he released it on True Social, basically talking about, well, everybody. I hope you had a great Valentine's Day on Saturday. And here's what the president had to say about that. This is cut, whatever. Go.
Roses are red, sanctuary cities are blue.
True.
And if you're an illegal alien, Tom Homan will deport you.
Accurate.
The radical left Democrats love the bad hombres so much that they gave them free housing and health care and such. They love these illegals more than they love their own mother. They love them more than Ilhan Omar loves her own brother.
Oh, my.
They love these illegals so much, I conclude, they love them as much as Chris Christie loves food.
Whoa.
They love when Tim Walz lets them steal all your money.
Yeah.
They love them like the woke NFL loves Bad Bunny. They were struck in the heart with an arrow from Cupid, which explains why they all have been acting so stupid.
Good rhyme.
They let them run free through a wide open border, but your favorite president has brought back law and order. When ICE hits your town, the bad hombres all scatter. If you're illegal, we're getting you the hell out. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Oh, wow. That was, I don't know, Yeats. Like, give me a good, like, poet, right? As far as just rhyme after rhyme, and delivered so effectively by the 47th president, his communication skills second to none. And of course, that was Sean Farish, our friend of the show, who sent that nice video for us to play here on WABC in New York and around the country and around the world, for that matter. Speaking of comedy, Joe Montana, who up until Tom Brady, I thought was the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. 4 Super Bowl championships for the 49ers back in the 80s. Won one technically in 1990 during the 89 season, 55-10 over the Broncos. Montana wasn't the biggest guy in the world, so his career could have been, in other words, Brady played for 20 plus years. Montana just got beat up. NFC in the 80s, think about the teams that came out of there. The Redskins won, let's see, a Super Bowl in 83, Super Bowl in 88. All right, we'll stretch it a little bit. Super Bowl in 91. So that's 3 right there. My Bears won one, most dominant, I think, team ever, at least defense, in 1985-86, 46-10 over the Patriots. The Giants were incredible. Only one Super Bowl. Well, we'll call it 2. We're going to stretch things a little bit. Obviously, the 86 season, dominating the Broncos, and then again, beating the Bills in a great upset. Scott Norwood, of course, wide right, 20-19 in Tampa. And then the 49ers winning 4 Super Bowls as well. In other words, it was just, you played during that time, the great teams that came out of that conference, truly incredible. And Montana, in his day, NBC signed him at one point to be a color analyst, in other words, color commentator. Not good. Just not a very personable guy, not very demonstrative. I think Brady at first wasn't all that great either. And that's my employer, Fox. By the end of the season, and particularly in the playoffs, I thought Brady was as good as anybody as far as his prep as far as his ability to explain the game in a way that made you understand why quarterbacks and why offenses were doing, particularly what they were doing in certain situations, and defenses for that matter. So Brady improved on the job like I've never seen before. Anyway, the point is, here's Joe Montana with the church lady on SNL when that show used to be funny. And this is just hilarious. A classic clip for you to enjoy. One of two. Cut number 5. Go.
All righty. Now, Joey, you are what is called, I believe, a quarterback. Now, what do you do?
Well, I run the offense.
Now, how does that work?
Well, the center snaps the ball.
Is that when a heavy-set gentleman squats down and passes the pigskin between his thighs, where your hands are nestled near his bulbous naughty place?
Oh, that's good.
Well, that's one way of putting it. Then I try to complete a pass to a tight end who usually goes deep and long, and hopefully we score.
Now, do I hear you correctly, Joey? You make a pass at a tight end who likes to go deep and long, and this is how you score.
Isn't that special?
Well, isn't that special?
I didn't know that was coming, but I guess I did. Anyway, yeah, so that is from Saturday Night Live. I believe that was 1991. Anyway, one more classic clip before we go. And this is Richard Nixon, all right? Dick Nixon on the purpose of life. Again, Nixon, you take away Watergate. I know that's a big takeaway, but boy, he won 2 elections like we have never seen back-to-back before. A great president, and Watergate obviously changed everything. But here is Richard Nixon in terms of his worldview on the purpose of life. Cut number 6, go.
The unhappiest people of the world are those in the watering places, the international watering places like the south coast of France and Newport and Palm Springs and Palm Beach, going to parties every night, playing golf every afternoon, then bridge, drinking too much, talking too much, thinking too little, retired, no purpose. And so, while I know there are those who totally would disagree with this and say, gee, boy, if I could just be a millionaire, that would be the most wonderful thing. If I could just not have to work every day, if I could just be out fishing or hunting or playing golf or traveling, that'd be the most wonderful life in the world. They don't know life, because what makes life mean something is purpose, a goal, the battle, the struggle, even if you don't win it.
Wow. It's one of the greatest things I've ever heard. And it is true. There's only so many things that make you happy in this life, and so much golf and so many parties and so much, spirits can't replace purpose and having a goal and achieving it. All right. Great stuff. We're going to play that every Sunday. All right. 2 or 3 classic clips from the past that will make you nostalgic for the past instead of the quagmire that we're in now from a thought process from many of our so-called leaders. Anyway, this has been the Joe Concha Tunnel to Towers Foundation Sunday morning show. Thanks so much for tuning in. We're back next week at 11 a.m. Eastern time here on WABC and around the country. Until then, 2 words for you. Bye-bye.
Rural Americans deserve access to the best of what our nation has to offer, especially healthcare. Across every state and every community, America's rural hospitals are the first line of defense, protecting our families, neighbors, and loved ones. No matter where you live, hospital care doesn't clock out. They're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Each year, America's over 5,000 hospitals care for millions of patients, providing 24/7 emergency care, delivering babies, cancer treatments, and other life-saving care that patients rely on. Behind every one of those patients are doctors, nurses, and caregivers working tirelessly to keep people healthy and safe. Hospitals are our community's lifelines. They employ our neighbors and keep our families healthy. But now, some in Congress are threatening access to care. Tell Congress, protect patient care to keep America strong. Don't cut rural health care.